What's going on, Milanisti? It's your host, Nicko, and I'm back with a brand new show called the Milanista Report. This is the new show for the new season. I'll be focusing on breaking down defensive plays, schemes, principles that Fonseca is going to be implementing this year with the team. Obviously, we don't know what players are going to come, but we'll see what happens. Also, this show will be breaking down any defensive blunders, defensive highlights from our players, profiling the new signings, defensive signings as well. That's coming, next season, and also profiling current players on the squad, like Tomori. If he sticks around, Theo, Kalulu, Tedeshano as well. So, we did this show last season. Part of Milanista's 360 was just called Defensive Dynamo. But this season I decided to give it a fresh new look, and it's called Milanista's Report. All right. So, keep an eye out for those upcoming episodes on Milanista's 360s on YouTube and on X. All right. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, spread the word as well. We appreciate your support. With that being said, on today's show, I'll be breaking down a few different things. On the last week's show with Husney and Nathan, we talked about expectations for next season, and I wanted to dive into that a little bit more this season as well. Obviously, I have my thoughts on expectations on what the management is going to do, and Fonseca as well, just being realistic, and also breaking down the Primavera players on the team, especially the defenders, focusing on them primarily. And also, what else we can be breaking down today? And also what signings I'd like for the team to bring on. Realistic signings for the defense to kind of solidify the defense, because obviously that's been the issue last season. It's not scoring. I know we've been focusing on signing a striker, which isn't great. You'll need a new striker to replace Giroud. But we really need to focus on defense. At the end of the day, a strong defense, wins you championships, especially domestically. Even, on the Champions League level as well. I mean, we saw Borussia Dortmund. One of the big reasons they were able to get to the finals this season was primarily their defense was really, really good. Their mid-block was really good. Their pressing was on point. And even look at Inter. Their defense was solid this season. And any of the top teams in Europe that won their domestic leagues, their goals for and goals against with a goal differential was huge. Over plus 20, plus 40 in some cases. So that's the end of the day. Your defense needs to be solid to have a chance at winning a title or even competing for a title. And then also I'll be breaking down, getting into what defensive principles I'd like to see Fonseca apply to this new squad in terms of the pressing schemes and that sort of thing. All right. So that being said, let's get into it. So first off, my expectations for next season. All right. Let's see what's going on. Sorry about that, guys. So on last week's show with Husney and Shane, we really dove into, kind of got into what we realistically think the club's going to do next season, how they can compete with the new coach, Redbird, what they're going to do in terms of, signing the right players for Fonseca and giving them the right help. So these are my expectations realistically. I don't expect us to win the Scudetto or even compete for it. Let's be honest. Most coaches, besides, what Xabi Alonso did at Bayern Leverkusen this year, his first season at that club, winning the German league, Bundesliga, getting to the finals of Europa, right? They end up losing that game to Gasperini's team because he got out coached at the end of the day. But that doesn't happen a lot. That's it's highly unlikely for most coaches to expect that, or fans to really think that a new coach, regardless of how talented that coach is, how much experience he has, is to go into a new team, a new league, and compete for a title, right? Especially Inter. Inter's restocked. They got their core players coming back in. They have Bastoni leading the back line, Acerbi, right? They have their midfield returning, majority of their midfielders. They signed, Teremi. So they're holding on to their core players to keep their defense strong, their midfield strong, and have added more offensive threats. And Inzaghi's coming back too. Let's be honest, he's one of the top coaches in Europe right now, by far. He's had time at Inter to really set his principles in place. Players trust his system, and it makes a big difference. So, I have zero expectations that we're going to compete for a title. But this is the things I like for Fonseca to focus on. All right. First and foremost, he's known for developing youth players, right? That's the thing that we keep hearing about him, right? All this thing that he's great at developing players. He helped develop Thiago Santos, at his former club. He helped develop Jonathan David, and who else did he help develop? A few other kids too in France. So going into the season, what I want to see is him utilizing the U23 team. That's going to be at Serie C, going in and bringing those kids in, rotating them in. Players like Simic, if he resigns, Zaroli, Atule, and getting him significant minutes. Also, really giving him his time because he got re-signed from the club. And, giving Theo a break. Theo played a ton of minutes last season. At the pace that he plays, that rock and roll style of bombing up and down the field, eventually he's going to break down. And we're going to need somebody that we can trust to go in there and cover for Theo when he needs to be rested or if he gets injured, right? That's one, is utilizing the youth players more. We didn't see that enough last season. So Simic had made a couple appearances and he disappeared, even though he was, in my opinion, right, from being a former coach, being around some pro teams in the United States, watching them train, being around coaches, I could tell that, my experience says that eye test anyways, not just looking at stats, right, is that Simic, which was much more comfortable on the ball, much more comfortable in the back line than Chow. And Chow was favored over Pio this season, even though Chow made a ton of mental mistakes and cost games for us as well. All right, so I want to see Simic if he resigns. I want to see Zaroli, Batasagi being used a lot more this season as well. And, who else? Tereshano as well. He was brought in. We hardly ever saw him as well, especially at right back, right? And I want to see these kids given a really fair chance to make an impact on the club. Even Kamada too, he's supposed to be young. I don't want to cover too much the offense. It's a defensive show, but I want to see these kids given a chance. Because we can keep hearing this U23 team will be rotating between the U23 and the senior team. So I want to see them being utilized the right way, developed the right way, and given a fair chance to start. If they come in and they're given significant minutes and being used right at the right moments, and they're proven to be better than their senior teammates, they need to start. End of story. All right. So that's one. That's my huge expectation for the club. Two, I want to see Fonseca lead the team, show some, bring a little bit of teeth to this club. I know he's not known to be this, inspirational leader, but I want to see something more than him just showing up in Zorro outfits and costumes at press conferences. That's a joke in my opinion. All right. I want him to take this job seriously, which I'm sure he will be, but to lead the team and to be competitive, especially against Inter during these derbies. I don't expect him to win, those games, but to compete, show some fire, some passion, and not get embarrassed in these derbies going into next season. Because last season we got embarrassed every single time, which is a fucking joke. All right, that's not what Milan's about. We have history. We're one of the greatest teams in Europe, in the world, historically. We need to bring that back. At least show it on the pitch. All right, let's see what's going on. What's up, Aiden? Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. All right, so we got 20 people watching. Awesome. That's a good count. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. My other expectations for the club going in, besides the players, the youth players being utilized a lot more, and the defensive principles going in and competing for derbies is try to finish at least top four. I know we're not expecting, a lot of us think, top four, but top four is important. As a club, even financially, financially is great. We're financially, a healthy team right now. We're not showing it. We're not making any purchases. But we need to show it on the pitch and finish top four. All right. And not, and be competitive against Juve. Juve is making strides. They've got Motta. They're making their signings with Douglas Luiz and a bunch of other players. They signed a new keeper from Serie A. I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. He's one of the best keepers in Serie A last season. You got Gasperini. He's got his team returning. Majority of his players, they just won the conference. They won the Europa League. They're going to be pushing, be competitive. That team, those clubs as well, are our main competition, and especially the smaller teams as well. All right, and to be strong defensively. That's my biggest concern going in. Hopefully we get that right, because we could score goals. That's not the issue, but show some defensive solidarity. Have good defensive shape out in the pitch. Be compact. Communicate. Have our midfielders back, track their players going back, right? Recovering. Now leaving that huge space between the midfield and the back line we did see time and time again, missing assignments. All right. Letting these high quality shots on goal time and time again. All right. To happen once or twice, you saw it again and again, where our defense was just a mess. So I'm hoping that's my other expectation going into the season is that, and I know Fonseca he's not known as a defensive wizard, but I'm hoping the assistant coaches that he brings in, that's huge as well. We got to remember it as well, is the support staff bringing in what experience they bring to the table. All right. Just like with Borussia Dortmund, you see Sahin, he's the new coach, Borussia Dortmund. And I covered him as well in past podcasts on my show, that he had really good, strong defensive principles. and it showed that he really put that impression on the team and helped them push through to the finals of the Champions League, right? Because of the assistant coaches that Borussia Dortmund had, and now he's the head coach right there at Borussia Dortmund. So I'm hoping these coaches that Fonseca brings in, I haven't seen who he's bringing in as assistant coaches. Are there former coaches from Lille or new coaches he's worked with in the past? I don't know. I need to check that out. But I'm hoping they bring a solid defensive principles, schemes to the club, and they help develop these players a lot more. Players like Tomori, Gabbia, Calabria, everybody to step up their game this season. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is our Primavera players. Gave them a little highlight. You know, we spoke about them before briefly, but let's let me share my screen here. And presentations, screen share, we go. All right. So transfer market. Hey, by the way, just like Gino and Max Lombardi on MLM podcast, they give shout out to transfer market because they use them all the time on their podcast. And they're just, they've asked to be sponsored by Transfer Market. Transfer Market, if you're listening, anybody from Transfer Market out there, listen, if you want to support this show and Max Lombardia's and Gino's show as well, please reach out to us on Twitter, man. You guys have this is great stuff here, great content. I use your, reference things all the time on this show. So looking at here, these are the Primavera players currently on AC Milan's U19. So we got Dorian Baloschi, he's Italian, 18. All right. Looks like his value is going up. We got Alex Sandler. All right. He's 17. So these kids are super young. All right. We have Lorenzo Grilli, another Italian, 18. Leandro Frungoni, 18. All right, so we got a ton of Italian kids. Pietro Parmesan, 18. So he's another center back. Andrea De Bonis, left back. He's 18 years old. We got Esteban Gocho, 17. He's a dual national, Brazilian and Italian. Adam Bukun, 18. Vittorio Magni, right back, 18. So we got Matteo Tezel, defensive midfielder, 18 years old. Michael Vitali, another defensive midfielder. Lorenzo. Listen, you can take a look. We have a ton of, I'm not really familiar with all these players. It looks like we got a lot long, young talent on this team. So there's potential out there. Hopefully not really all these kids are going to pan out. Obviously, that's hardly never the case, right? For most of these kids that pan out, if you could pan out a couple of these kids and promote them either to the U23 team, that'd be great. Matter of fact, this season, I'll have to take a close look at these kids, watch their games on the YouTube channel and the U23 team as well. I'd be interested to keep an eye on them. I'm not sure where they'll be streaming those, the U23 team. I'm guessing on YouTube as well, on AC Milan's YouTube channel. But it'll be interesting to see which one of these kids that I just mentioned will actually, develop and to, potentially move to the U23. And hopefully, like I said, given a chance to crack at the senior team, even some appearances, right? And we're seeing it with Spain and Germany, right? Those countries, they really trust the youth, especially if they're physically ready right? Some of these kids may not be physically ready for that, to play against the big boys. If they're physically ready, you need to give them a chance. Look at Barcelona. Kurbasi, kid's 18, right? He's making an impact for them. He's one of the best under 21 center backs right now. All right. And that's why, in my opinion, I see Simic. I think he hasn't even re-signed yet to the club. I'm thinking, because I follow him online as well. He's got a, he believes himself a lot. He believes he's going to be he has the potential to be a very good center back. I want to say great, because that takes time to be a great center back. All right. Got to do that over multiple years. Consider great. And I see Simic probably, from my opinion, as a former player, probably sees Kubrasi, same age. He probably thinks to himself, hey, I can do the same things he's doing. I should be starting for a team. So, in my opinion, I don't have any problems with him not re-signing with the club if he's not promised to be brought up to the first team. Why not, sign up for a German team? Germany is really good at developing younger kids and giving them a lot of starts. And watch that kid grow, blossom to, the next great center back, potentially. So, at the end of the day, I want these kids to be given a chance. That's my biggest thing, right? I mean, like I said before, Fonseca is known to be this coach that's great at developing players. I'm hoping that happens, because I don't expect much from this club next season. I really don't. I'm just being realistic. All right. But the biggest thing I want to see is these kids given a chance. All right. Because we do have, instead of focusing on keep signing these players from out of the country, from Germany and France, and and taking a chance at these unknown players, why not give kids within your own club that know your system, know what it means to be a Milanista, either Italian, not Italian, whatever. I don't want to get into that, because I have my own feelings about that. But if your system, right, you've been going through this system for quite a while, you know what it means to wear that badge, right here. Be given a chance. What's the point of being signed up, spending all your time, and not given that's every kid's dream, is to be given a chance to go to the senior team and show what they got. But like I said, not every kid's going to pan out, just being real. But some of these kids, right? And bring those kids up, develop them, let them be the new captains of the team. That's the most important thing. That's some of these unknown kids, or even these, these other players that we've been tied to that are just average, like Emerson Royale. He's a very average right back. He's not very good offensively. He's an average defender, and we're tied to him. Nothing's official yet, but come on. Give these kids a chance, especially if they start showing a lot of potential, going to their ranks, getting called up for their national teams at that age group. Give them a chance. All right. So that's enough about the kids in Primavera. The other thing I wanted to get into today was, give me a second here, fellas. The next segment I want to get into is defensive schemes going into next season. What I want to see is different things going into next season. I know that Fonseca, from what I've read and what I've heard from, the articles that I read, some of the videos of him talking about the way he plays, is that, he likes to press and get the ball up, get the ball, press and get the ball, recover the ball in good, positions on the pitch, right? Really to able to counter really fast, get the ball up the field, and score goals or increase your chances of scoring goals, which is great. It's a long season. You got these players playing a lot of games for their club, for their international teams, tournaments, etc. So, in my personal opinion and my experiences, talking to just various coaches, and we're seeing this a lot more for a lot of clubs too. The way they're adapting, they're changing things up right in the game, is playing a high press system, but also alternating that with the mid block. I don't like this sitting back and just eating up all this pressure, because it doesn't work, in my opinion. Eventually, you're going to break. In order for that to happen, you need to park the bus, in a sense, right? You really need at least one veteran center back, which we don't have right now, and a veteran midfielder, defensive midfield, to keep everybody in check and compose in the back, constantly communicating, and just soaking up the pressure and then counter. I'm not a big fan of sitting back. Yeah, it's great sometimes, but for me, going in, I want to see the mid block being utilized a lot more, and a high press, depending on the situation. Because if you're going to be high pressing for 90 minutes of the game, you're going to increase your chances of injuring your players with lower extremity injuries, like hamstrings being pulled, things like that. And overall, it's not healthy for the players to do that for 90 minutes throughout the whole season. And eventually, a lot of teams, really good teams, either domestically or in Europe, to press. They're trying to beat you into pressing, right? I believe it's, I know like some EPL team, I think like maybe, I think it's Pep had says like he likes to get the opposing teams to press, because they set up their team. They drop in one of their creative midfielders in the back line, right? And that's pulling the defender back, and it's creating space in the middle, right? Because they've got that attacking midfielder who's really, really good on the ball and creating chances and moving the ball, progressing it, breaking, right? Either through dribbling or passing it, right? And taking players out of that game, right, defensively. So pressing 90 minutes is, for a lot, especially if you're playing a really good team that's well organized, they're going to want you to press. They're begging you to press so they can just take advantage of that and break your press extremely easy. Like Inter, right? We saw that with Atletico Madrid, who's known for high pressing, right? They did that to Atletico the first game. They broke the press super easy because they were just well organized, and Inzaghi had prepped that team for that. So that's one, right? Just look at it just like from boxing, for example. Floyd Mayweather likes to bait his opponents in when he was fighting, dropping his hands down, not being that very orthodox style of fighting, your chin down, hands up. He had his hands down, and there's a couple other boxers that were really had that style because they were baiting their opponent in to come in. Right, it happens in MMA too. They bait their opponents in through certain things. Right, you throw in the left hook, getting the guy to move the other direction, they come with a high kick on the other side, for example. So these are games that are played within the game, right? So in order to counteract that from the opponent's team, I want to see Milan. If the high press is not working, the other team is breaking it easily because they're beating you into high press. Got to move to a mid block. Mid blocks are extremely, extremely important, and they're effective. But in order for that to happen, you need a very experienced midfielder, defensive-minded midfielder, to marshal your midfield. I broke it down in the past as well. You've seen it with, I think it was with Sal's team, the Champions League run, a really, experienced midfield in the playing and marshaling the other midfielders where to go during that mid block, and able to, when you have that, you're able to turn your opponent away, all right, and they're sending the ball back to the keeper every single time, and not allowing them to progress the ball up the field and brace that mid block. So you need that as well for that mid block to work effectively. You need somebody to be able to marshal midfielders. Same thing when you're center back. You need a center back to marshal your center backs and your right back and your left back, where to go on the pitch to stay compact all the time, communicate, right? And not miss their assignment. Also, counter pressing as well. That's another thing that I want to see a lot more. But in order for the high press to work and the counter pressing when you lose the ball, right, you need everybody to press together. Because if somebody doesn't, is missing their assignment, pressing the ball at the right time, it's a step to slope, it doesn't work. It breaks down. So somebody like Leao, who's not known for his defensive attributes, right? He needs to, hopefully Fonseca, his assistant coaches, instill that in Leao this season. Be able to the ball the minute we lose the ball. Or even when, if he calls for a high press, you need every person on the field to press. So that's really important as well. That needs to happen. So I'm hoping Leao, we see a different Leao this season spent aside. When we're out of possession, we don't have the ball. All right. And by the way, what's going on here? It looks like the England game, Swiss game is over. By the way, I'm not sure what happened. I know they went to overtime, to extra time today. That was a good game, by the way, man. It was, Switzerland came out with the first goal. Then Saka came in with that banger of a goal from the right side of the pitch, and tied up the game. I'm not sure how the game ended. It looked like the game is finished now. I'm not sure what the final score is. If anybody in the chat knows, please let me know, because I got on mute the game. All right. So those are the points I have for today. One other thing as well I wanted to say really quick is that the signings that I want, I know we haven't signed anybody yet, but I don't want to mention particular players, but what we need to focus on. I hope, Jerry gets this right, Moncada, because, and the rest of his staff, we need one veteran center back, like I said, to mentor the other defenders and to marshal that backfield. I don't trust Tamar to do that the whole season. He's shown lapses of mental lapses this season. It was one play where it was one of the last games of the season, and the ball was on the right side of the pitch. Yeah, right side. And when he caused a penalty, right? He went for the ball, but he was a step too late. He stepped on the guy's foot. He clipped him. Because it was a run behind Deo. He was honest. I looked at that replay. He was actually tying his shoe. He sat down for a second, looking at his shoelaces. I don't know if he tried to tie it or something. Things like that. You're the leader of this. You're the most experienced center back. The other guys look up to you. Players like Gabia, Chow. All right. You should be 100% focused. You want to tie cases or something like that. It's like, that's amateur shit. And I really upset me at the time. I was like, are you serious? So for me, Tomori is not the answer. He's a good center back, very good center back. He helped us win a Scudetto, right, when he was paired up with Kalulu. But you need a veteran center back. Someone like Hummels. I know a lot of people are not a fan of being what he did at his former club when he, rumored things going around saying that he He had a couple different players in the locker room against the head coach. They didn't like his tactics, and yeah, it looks bad. But at the end of the day, he's not going to do that at every club, right? He doesn't have a history of doing that. That was his first time, as far as I know. Or somebody else. I'm not sure who else is out there available as a veteran center back who can, help marshal that back line, keep everybody together, compact, and help develop help bring up the younger center backs and other defenders in that club and mentor them as well. It's important. Everything's important, not just how well you play, but if you can mentor the other guys, which we had Kyer doing that. He's not around anymore. Second, right back. Yeah, I know if we're going to sign Emerson Royale, that's the target. Keep away from him. I don't want him on the club. I'd rather give Tedesco a chance and Kalulu. And I guess Calabria's going to stay. Let those guys fight it out this season. If Calabria, I think Florence is going to stay too, but he could be a backup. But let's see what Terracciano has. Let's see what Kalulu can. If those guys can rotate in now, I'm okay with that. Instead of wasting $20 million on some average defender. I don't want that. Also, a midfielder. Spend, 30 mil on a true defensive midfielder. All right, if you can get two of them with different profiles, you're going to get better. You have one that's going to be able to, be more creative in terms of setting the tempo, being more of a holding midfielder. Great. Somebody who's a true beast in the midfield, who's got serious teeth. Nothing for me like Gattuso was that for Milan way back when. Somebody like that, who's got serious teeth, who can bully people off the ball, win those 50-50 balls, stop the opposing team from running to the midfield. That's what you need as well. And somebody could march that midfield for, like I said before, during that midfield, at mid-block, or when you're high pressing, whatever the case may be, if you're alternating back and forth. And finally, all right, and those are the positions right there. Give me and then even another center back too. But if you get me one veteran center back, I'll be okay with it. I know we're not in the running for Borgiano. Calafiore is not going to happen. I don't see that happening. They're out of our price. I don't think our club's interested in those guys. But realistically, at this point, give me a veteran center back, who's early 30s, and get me two midfielders, different profiles that are defensive minded. All right, and I'll be happy with that going to next season. Because to me, we're gonna, like I said before, realistically, it's not gonna help us win a Scudetto or even compete for one, I don't think, but at least solidify the defense. And now look like a fucking just, like an average EPL club, having these opposing teams just run through our field and just cut through it. So those are my expectations for next season in total. So we talked about, the schemes I want to see, the principles, seeing alternating between a mid-block and a press, high press, depending on the situation, and also not risking our players getting hurt from high pressing 90 minutes for a whole game and throughout the season, and also confusing your opponent, either being that man marking or zone pressing or a mixture of both. I don't know. We've seen a lot of that mixed, a little combination of both from a lot of new coaches. I'm not sure how Fonseca is going to do that. Right. And then the signings, right? And also, most importantly, giving these kids a chance, the U23 kids a chance, and bringing up these kids from the Primavera and giving them a crack eventually. Those are what I want to see going into this season with our club. All right. With that being said, I'd like to add as well one other thing, really important, a little off subject, but going into what I've been seeing a lot is that there's been a fracture of, besides not even the fans, but the Milan podcasts out there. All right. I'm not going to mention names, but there is a fracture in terms of people calling each other out. At the end of the day, we're here to support each other. We're all trying to do the same thing. We all love this club. That's why we have these podcasts. All right. I'm not saying we need to give each other shout outs on your show and things. If you don't agree with us, right, which is fine. But to, have these issues with us with certain podcasts and calling them out, there's no need for that. All right. At the end of the day, we're all in the same thing. We're all in the same boat. We're all Milanisti. And that's that. So just try to be civil at the end of the day. All right. There's no reason for negative energy. And also, that's tuned in as well. Hey, appreciate it so much. All right. Like I said, going into the new season, the Milan will be part of Milanista's 360 with Husney and Shane. And that's going to be either a weekly show, either Saturday or Sundays, depending on our schedules, because everybody lives in a different time zone. We got a lot of things going on, personal lives as well. And upcoming shows, the next show that we got planned is the Summer Mercato Madness. We might do a show before that, but that's the big one. That's going to be a live panel show. We're trying to bring on as many people as possible from other podcasts as well, Milan podcasts, and talk about all the signings that we've made this Mercato season, and give our thoughts on each player, each signing, and thoughts about Fonseca as well, because I'm sure by then he'll give us a clear idea what he's going to do next season in terms of formations and the defensive schemes and everything else, the way he's going to play offensively once he knows who his starting 11 is going to be, hopefully, and gets a feel for these guys. That's going to be the big show coming up in end of August or early September. All right. But in the meanwhile, please support the channel. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, tune in to our previous shows that we leave any comments as well. All right. And if you have any suggestions, hit me up on X. All right. And that's it. All right. If you have anything to add about the show, any way we can improve the show as well, please let us know. All right. That being said, Forza Milan. All right. As always. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. All right. Take it easy. Enjoy your weekend.